that the GTA 6 trailer has been out for a little over a week, the fan base, they've had a fun time going over the little details, deciphering all the hidden messages that Rockstar loves hiding in their promo material. Now, we've already talked about all the cars that showed up in the trailer, and in a few days, we're going to go over every single Florida location that popped up in those 91 seconds as well. But what about the deeper point of the trailer? What's going on with the story? The trailer actually reveals a bit more about the game's main story than people realize, and now that the community has had some time to watch it, 100 million times, I'm going to break it down for you. I'm not the one to kind of discover this flip narrative. I saw T. Martin talk about it and people on Reddit as well, but Rockstar went really deep here. They flipped it. If you turn it upside down and you kind of work your way from the end of the trailer back, it kind of makes sense. So as we know, the trailer starts with Lucia in prison and then cuts to some establishing shots of Vice City and surrounding areas, and the trailer is basically plotless until we get to the part with a bunch of police footage and we get our first look at Jason. And if you're like me, you immediately assumed, okay, Lucia's in prison at the beginning of the game and she's going to break out and we'll go from there. Or she could be in prison at the end and this is her reminiscing, talking to her parole officer, who knows. But there have been some of the community trying to figure out who exactly some of the characters are in the first 30 or 40 seconds of the trailer. The only characters actually named throughout the entire trailer is Lucia. But there's a couple other shots with a girl whose identity is never made clear, but it's very likely they are indeed Lucia in other scenarios. Now, we all know the now infamous bikini girl that shows up for a few seconds, but there's also a shot of a girl riding down the freeway with her hands up. Now, while neither of these girls are ever identified, it's believed by many GTA fans they're both actually Lucia at different points of her life. But that's not where the theory ends. As I'm sure you know, Lucia has an ankle monitor on her foot in the official GTA 6 promotional art where she's sitting on the car with Jason. But this ankle monitor is actually nowhere to be found during the trailer. Even during the ending sequence where we see Lucia and Jason robbing the liquor store, if you slow down the trailer and zoom in on Lucia's ankle, you can see the monitor isn't there. So taking all those little details, mixing them together in this bag, it's actually possible to reconstruct the trailer, place all the sequences in a different order to get a better idea of what the main story will possibly be. Now, obviously, this won't be the entire story, but, by changing the order of events, flip it around, start from the end instead of the beginning, we can reveal what might end up being Lucia's backstory, which will probably be covered in the first few hours of the main story. So go with me on this and let's break down this theory that everybody's been talking about. One of the last things we see in the trailer is Lucia asking Jason, trust. To which he responds, trust. Well, she says trust her. He says trust. After that, we get a shot of them busting into the liquor store and eventually driving off in that red car that presumably belongs to Jason. But what if that was actually where the story of the trailer starts, not ends? Like I said before, Lucia does not have an ankle monitor on during that robbery, so I don't think the prison sequence is at the beginning of the trailer, or I don't think the prison sequence at the beginning of the trailer is actually representative of the final game sequence of events. But if that's where the story actually starts and we basically watch the trailer in reverse, the first few hours of the game's main story start to make more sense. And all these random establishing shots in the first 40 to 50 seconds, they now have meaning. So if the story basically starts with Lucia and Jason carrying out various heists together and entering the criminal underworld of Vice City, shallow as their entrance may be, that means the shots in the middle of the trailer, where Lucia is wearing her bikini at the fancy rooftop pool and driving nice sports cars down the freeway, could be taking place after she and Jason pull off their heist, and they're enjoying the high life provided to them by their stolen wealth. The Lucia we see at the end of the trailer, which is the beginning of the story, seems much more hardened and unfortunate than the Lucia we see in the middle of the trailer, who's wearing expensive clothes, driving fancy cars, if that's her. The Lucia at the end of the trailer seems tougher, more desperate, as evidenced by the fact that she's having to convince her partner to pull off a heist with her. That's not really the kind of thing you do if you already live an expensive lifestyle, right? Something must have went wrong. So assuming the Lucia we see at the end of the trailer is actually the start of her journey, and the Lucia we see in the middle of the trailer is actually the aftermath of her crime spree, it would make sense that the Lucia we see in the prison at the very beginning of the trailer is there because she was eventually caught. Which would also make sense why she's so casual about her interview with the prison employee. If she basically just robbed a bunch of liquor stores and never actually hurt or killed anybody, it would make sense why she's been in prison the way she has, as opposed to what is happening if she had killed a bunch of people or done the usual stuff that GTA protagonists do. This would also explain why she ends up with the ankle monitor, because if she was in jail for robbing liquor stores, it's reasonable to think she would eventually get paroled for that. Maybe that lady in the room with her is her parole officer. Also notice, at the end of the trailer, notice how Lucia, that we see at the end of the trailer, actually has much longer hair than at the middle of the trailer. So if Lucia cut her hair after robbing various locations, but was then in prison for it, her hair would have grown out before she got released. So assuming this theory is right, the first GTA 6 trailer is basically Lucia's origin story in reverse. That means the main story of GTA 6 would be everything that happens after she's released with that ankle monitor on. So what happens then? Obviously, she gets back with Jason because we see them together in the promotional art where she's wearing the ankle monitor. But after that, I'm going to assume the story will be about Lucia getting back into the criminal world one way or another. Maybe becoming just the top of everything. It's a GTA game, after all, so she's going to have to find some way back into the world of crime after she's released from prison. Maybe she's going to go back out with a point to prove, try and get back at her previous life of luxury without getting caught this time. Maybe somebody ratted her out, and it's time to get revenge. Maybe the reason she got sent to jail is because people tried to take her out, and she's got vengeance on her mind. Maybe she'll be kind of like Nico from GTA 4, where she really doesn't want to be a criminal, but the criminal world simply won't let her live in peace, and she keeps getting dragged back into it. I really think that's the angle. I think they're going to make us really, really fall in love with Lucia and Jason, and it's going to be kind of that vibe, like Nico. We all love Nico. He just couldn't get out of it. So at the end of the day, the game is going to be massive. I don't feel like Rockstar would want to give away too much about the main story this early in the promotional cycle. GTA 6 isn't supposed to come out until 2025, so even if the release date is January 1st, that means we're still over a year away from launch, and I don't think Rockstar would want to give away a bunch of story aspects this early in the hype cycle. They like to dangle the carrot in front of us for months, years, hyping up new projects, so I'm not expecting the actual main driving conflict of GTA 6 to be confirmed until the second or possibly even third trailer in a year or so. I'm absolutely expecting us to look back at this first trailer and say, oh yeah, this was totally Lucia's backstory in reverse. Now, there's one issue. One issue with the theory, and that's actually in regard to the ankle monitor that kicked the whole thing off. Ankle monitors are obviously really hard to get off, and a lot of GTA fans are in agreement that the monitor would have some impact on the way the game progresses. I mean, this is the first time a GTA protagonist has actually been shown to have an ankle monitor, so obviously Rockstar is doing that for a reason. But it's not like ankle monitors are impossible to remove, and if Lucia has connections in the criminal underworld, it's entirely possible this trailer actually is the correct order, and the reason she doesn't have the ankle monitor after being released from prison is simply because one of her criminal buddies took it off. Or maybe she's an informant. Who knows? Then that would raise the question of why she's shown robbing a liquor store at the end of the trailer, even though the middle of the trailer shows her living a rather lavish lifestyle. Now, actually, now that I say it out loud, that's okay. What if the trailer is in order for a reason? What if the game actually does start off with Lucia in prison because before the game started, she was a criminal who was ratted out, caught up, slipped up, whatever. Then the meeting we see between her and the prison employee is her being granted parole so she can go back to all her wealth and power that she left behind in the hands of other criminals that she trusted before she went away. She gets out of prison, goes back to her expensive lifestyle of fast cars and fancy bikinis, and then something happens. Maybe someone rats her out, or maybe a new criminal faction comes into power. Maybe she's forced to leave that lifestyle behind and basically hide out with Jason. At that point, she decides she wants to work her way back up the criminal ladder, prove her worth either for revenge on those who screwed her over or as a personal showing of strength and capability. So, who knows? The liquor store robbery is basically the beginning of her second rise to power. If you go with this theory, might be a stretch. I don't know. It would explain why the events of the trailer are in the order they are. But then again, you have the theory of it in reverse. That's the fun of this. We really don't know. It's so layered and so deep and so complex. It's going to be fun. There you go. Give me your best theory. Do you think it is the trailer in reverse, or do you think it is what I just said at the end? I'll see you guys soon.